Hi, good evening. This is a meeting of the Groton Board of Education Policy Committee, and this is at 6:02 on April 21st, 2026. In attendance, we have all of our committee members, that's Sean and Andrea, and then we have our chairperson for the board, Bev Washington, and then also in attendance we have Superintendent Austin, Lauren Cassini, and Ernie Koschmeiter. And I think that's it. And then Kate Brown's running the show. So thank you for that. Um, so that's the call to order. We have quorum because we have all members. The second item is reviewing the minutes from the Tuesday, March 10th, 2026 meeting. I was wondering if anyone had any um, uh, amendments or corrections they'd like made on that.
Look good to me.
Okay. So I guess I'll accept the minutes as in our packet. And the next item is the discussion on P5118 non-resident attendance. And I can bring that up on the screen if you like in a bit, but this went for first reading um, at the last Board of Ed meeting, and it did not pass the first reading. And the questions that came up were really mostly in the first part of it, where it's defining um, basically situations where a non someone considered a non-resident, basically the terms of what is a resident and a non-resident were what were discussed, and like and so that's where we can focus on. Bev's got another point though.
Thank you, Mike. Susan, is this the policy that Denise told us came straight from the state?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a K policy. It's per the law. So
Per-
these definitions are the legal definitions of what a resident is, whether we like it or not. I think that it's opening up Pandora's box if we try to overstep the law and try to define it for ourselves. I just want you to know, though, that in our district, we're very responsive to our families that try to enroll. Really, Lauren Cassini kind of heads up enrollment and lottery, and she's wonderful with the parents, as is Rebecca Bias. And they really try to listen to the family stories. There are situations where they might not be a resident, but it might determine that they need to talk to Denise Doolittle, who oversees homelessness. So know that, in this, we do make sure that we're responsive and listen to family stories. There could be a situation where a family's living with a friend, and in that case, or a family member, and in that case, they can sign a notarized admission that they are living in that place at that time. So while these definitions are per the law and they're pretty strict, we can't really change them. You need to know that in this district, we are very responsive. And part of the reason we brought this back to you is because of the green language, which really talks about the military child, and the compact, which is something Mike and I probably wish we had had back in the day.
Yeah.
They didn't have a compact for us military kids, but it really does watch after military children. And in the case of an 11th grader who is stationed here and they may get orders, that student can stay in the district to finish up their senior year, which I think is an exceptional response from, our compact, our national. It's a state by state. All states have signed on for this compact to really provide for military children. So that's kind of my override, but Lauren knows this much better than I do.
Yeah, and I think the board was in agreement, it seemed, on the addition of the military to match the compact. So I don't think that was as much of a concern as the first part, which really dealt with what constitute a non-resident student, right? So if we can go back up to those on the screen, Mike, thank you. So that like Susan had said, this definition comes directly from Connecticut legislation. It's worded exactly the same in the CABE policy, which makes us hesitant to want to change this. But I do recognize and understand the concern that this can be certain pieces, right? Like that temporary basis. Is a little vague. And that's where that individual conversation with families really does play an important role. Because there are nuances to what we need to accept, who we need to direct them to, what resources families might need to get these kids enrolled in a district. So it really is like a conversation that has to happen between the families and us. As an example, like when we're talking about a resident or a student residing in the district temporarily. As one example, we have a family or a mother who wanted to join her boyfriend out here in Connecticut. He's going to be working here for a month or two. She wanted to unenroll her child in the state she's in. They're living in a hotel. They don't have residency. They're not establishing residency. They can't prove residency. One, because of the hotel situation, which there are families that live in hotels that, again, right, depending on the circumstances, right, we certainly include them for a number of reasons. And we really try to work with the families. Like if they're in a hotel, but they've been in the district and they've established their lives in the district, we work with them because there are other ways for them to prove that residency. Whereas this particular woman, as an example, there is no intent to be here. If you look up the Connecticut legislation, it clearly states it's a fixed permanent resident. Physical residence is what constitutes residency. Another situation, same thing. It was a family, a mom who wanted to join her children's father in the state, unenrolled her child, from Rhode Island, came here. Through conversations and trying to understand the situation, it became clear that there were more nuances to that, and she really needed to have a conversation with with Denise as part of that McKinney-Vento. So each conversation with a family uncovers pieces and layers that go into this, making the determination: is it temporary, and what is the reasoning behind the temporary? Is there a plan to establish residency here versus just a quick in and out? And the reason this is important really has to do with our budget as well, right? We need to be mindful of students coming in, families coming in that don't have any intention of making Groton their home. This comes out of our budget that we know we're trying to get that passed now, right? And the funds are limited, so to have to take on every child that comes in and out, it's a strain on the district, to be quite honest. So if as a group you are really set against these, number 2, number 3, and number 4, which again, number 4, we've dealt with families who have tried to, have their children live in a particular house so that they can join a sports team, as an example. They want to be part of Groton sports. So we see these situations all the time, and that's why that language is important in there, because it gives us like a little bit of leverage, right? So we can use it where it needs to be used, but then there's also that flexibility of, again, knowing those nuances and how do we support the family.
And I would like to say Lauren did a lot of homework, and she researched other local communities like Ledyard. You have a whole slew of them, and they all maintain this language. They all use the state law. They all use the CABE language. So you can talk about a couple of those that are in sync with what we have here.
Yeah. Again, there are several throughout the state that I have looked into. Middletown as an example. Again, it goes back to that permanency, right? Like that establishing to be part of the community, not just that in and out type of service or using the district for specific accommodations or sports or things that are of interest to them, right? We do get a lot of families that are hesitant to have their children in other surrounding districts, and so they look for ways um, to provide their kid an education in Groton.
Mhm. Norman, how often do we check on residency? Because I do hear that we have a lot of students in Groton that actually don't live in Groton. So do we just check on it like once and never check on it again, or yearly? Can you give me an idea how often we check on that?
Well, it really depends if there's a change of address, or typically we find out like through word of mouth, or some of our kiddos may say things that alert us, and that's when we begin you know the discovery of whether or not they are in fact residents of Groton. We do have, for our students that go to out inter-district magnet schools, they're required to be verified every year. So we verify those kids every year.
And at the beginning of the year, we do ask them to update their
Right.
power schools. So that's something that gets sent home annually.
Mhm.
However, you know, people can put down on the power school what they put down. And mostly if we send out registered mail and it comes back, if there's a concern, we might do a wellness check at the home to see. And we actually have had private investigators who've had to go out and check homes.
And our work with Impact Aid too, we discover a lot through that when we're working with our military liaison, looking to source check families who may not have filled out Impact Aid. We have her do source checks, and we work closely with Beacon Homes. And so through that, there's a lot of discovery as well. So because as you know, Beacon Homes isn't all military families anymore. There's a certain percentage of families that are there, that are renting, that are not connected with the military. So we work closely with Beacon Homes, and we're able to identify families who may have applied but never actually showed up, or were denied, or were kicked out. So there are a lot of moving parts to find that out. But are there kids in this district that may not belong? Potentially. We're always looking at it. We're always double checking and verifying, and looking into any suspected non-resident issue.
Okay.
But it's
Yeah.
really
Thank you.
important when they enroll, I think, that we do the most
Mhm.
fastidious job we can
Right.
in making sure that everything lines up to the policy, because, families do move quite a bit in this district, not only military families. So,
Right.
alerting us and letting us know is really important. And we actually do at the end of the year, we sent intent to move forms out to every family so we know who's coming back and who's moving out.
What I did suggest to Susan and Denise was, if a policy has to do directly with state law, maybe you can attach the state law to the policy. This way we know that this is state law. We can't change the wording because this is state law.
Our photocopy costs are going to go way up. Those are long laws. Uh,
Well,
We
but
actually
yeah,
have a list of them.
yeah,
yeah.
but email them to us or whatever's
Okay.
pertinent. This way we know, because I think we looked at this policy last month and then we sent it back, and then I found out that it was state law. So we have to have it. So
We could link it right at the bottom.
yeah, is that
Oh,
the
that's a
PA
good
25?
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it's this one's the non-residents, I think most directly is that 10-253. It's mentioned at the very end of the policy, but it's also mentioned at the end of this page too.
Okay,
So
thank you.
yeah, it is always hard to, because what people were finding issue with are these situations, like it seems like it's I think that I agree the school system's quite takes an understanding approach to this, like knowing that people move in and out, and work with you on this.
Mhm.
But the different items that people are taking issue with at the board meeting, really taking issue with state regulation, as it turns out, right? And so we can't change that. I was wondering in this case, um, in well, it's good that you checked and everything is still, this hadn't been revised for a little bit, I guess, but that part, it is still up to current wording in the state statutes, I believe.
Mhm.
So I was wondering in this case, if we say a non-resident student is a student who, right at the top, maybe in this case we could just put in accordance with state regulations, a non-resident student is um, a student who, or something like that, as defined in state regulations, as a non-resident student is a student who. Some phrase like this. Um, I don't think typically that's actually necessary, but it might help it get right through the first reading a little quicker, and it might not harm too much unless Andrea has a problem with it, or Sean, because it's sort of an unnecessary statement.
Oh, I like that idea. I have other questions though after.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and my other, we're talking about like Bev mentioned that you have heard of people that live out of district, just to kind of get a sense of the um, scope of the problem. Um, we have thousands of students in the district. We're probably talking, you know, tens or twenties at the very most, I would think, and then probably the number of cases you investigate and find out like per year is that like, 5, 10, less. I
Less.
mean, I
I
know it
mean,
takes time.
a few, but
Yeah.
very few that we, have to really investigate fully.
So by and large, we are educating the students that we are legally obligated to educate.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
want to point that out just as perspective here.
Well, and
Um,
Mike, it's important to note too, because of these policies, we've really tightened them up some. So we're able to tighten up how we're identifying and proving residency. And that's the biggest piece, is that I think it's become much cleaner over the years because of the policy changes that have occurred and what is currently in, like, in the admission and placement policy, as an example, right? Specific documents we
Yeah.
accept as versus a piece of mail from, junk mail, right? We're not accepting that anymore. They have to be specific documents that prove that you are a current resident of the district.
And they
Thank you.
make it very clear when they're someone signing an affidavit that you're legally testifying that this person lives. And if we send someone out and you're not living there, that's breaking the law. So they're very clear in enrollment that, you want to make sure that what you're saying is true and that you are definitely living in this space.
And I want to interject. Earlier in the meeting, my power blipped out on and off for a little bit. If it does go out for real, I'll just join back in on my phone with less capacity.
Okay.
But I'm seeing it. It's kind of like browning
Flickering.
out a little.
Mm.
I could see that. Um, Oh, one point, like a number 3 said resides within the district on a permanent basis, but with pay to the persons with whom the student is living. And I think board member brought up situations of children living with relatives, not their legal guardians, in order to stay in school. And actually, that part with pay is part of the statute too. And it doesn't matter, and they exclude some types of things like gifts, for instance. But that would fit whether it's not like a non-guardian relative or not a relative. So that part in there, like the other parts, are legalistic because that's what's in the law. So Andrea, I think you had questions about other parts, because
Yes.
I mean this hasn't gone to first reading, so the whole policy is on the table here for revision.
Okay. I have several. One is I never got an answer about the Pfizer people, as it were. As I said, when I was principal, I had a lot of Pfizer children who were from England or France or wherever, and they were living in the district. Are they residents? I never got an answer on that. They're not, they live in France, they live in England, but their parents are here on like a 2-year assignment.
I think if they're living here and paying for rent and they're
Yeah.
established for those for a couple years, they are
Okay.
definitely
Yeah.
residents.
They're
We
residents.
have the
Okay.
Yes.
Australian Navy coming in, you know, being trained at sub school. And
Mhm.
I've met them in some of our parks here in Groton, and I know that they're living right nearby.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's happening still.
Yeah. Okay. So, but it says on a temporary basis, but
Yeah.
but okay. So that means that those kids are residents. All right.
Right.
And then, I still don't, I guess I don't get, so the so what? I mean, so if a child is living here and paying Aunt Martha $20 a month for food, how is that? Okay, if that's a non-resident, it is as according to the state. But then what?
That might not be a non-resident. That might be a resident still.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. And then
Especially if Aunt Martha gets guardianship. We have a lot of that too,
Right.
where different family members will get guardianship for a
Mhm.
child, and it might be for the year, it might be for several years, and then they might be reunited with the parents. So we do have a lot of different interesting situations, and we have to take it case by case
okay,
and
so
learn more.
if Aunt Martha doesn't want guardianship, but she doesn't want the kid living in a situation that's not healthy for the kid, and she says, "All right, you can come over, but I really can't afford it. Can you just give me $20 a month for her for food?" You know, and then what? But as you said, on a case by case basis. So
Yeah,
maybe
and you would need to have someone responsible for that child because, you know, the schools can't take on responsibility for children who don't have a guardian. So you would need to have someone be the guardian.
interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So would the parents still remain the guardian?
Well, then would they be the resident? I don't know.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, it's
And
sort of a
then,
gray area.
It is
It
a
might
very
be
gray
that.
area. I know of a situation now where the child is in one of our schools and has been with grandma, and grandma is no longer the guardian. Mom is down in Florida. And so they're trying to transport the kid back to Florida because grandma's not the guardian. So each family does things differently.
yeah,
And this is where those discussions are had, which the school
Right.
system will do and always has.
Right.
And then the part that number three, the pay, like paying for food is sort of a gray area because in some regards I'm partially paying the bridge market to feed my kids.
I know. Don't you love them?
You know, so like paying for like just like I think they're talking about like above and beyond
Right.
like living expenses for that child.
I
But
see.
it was unclear to me when I read that. I was wondering that same thing.
Do you
Okay,
know of
good.
a situation like that, Lauren? Have you come across one of
So
those?
that is one I have not come across yet, to be honest with you. I think that would probably be one of the harder ones to tease out. Right.
Yeah, that's my
Um,
next question, Lauren, is
yeah.
the so what? All right, we find out the kid is here and so on and so forth. And now we say, okay, you're a non-resident. What happens? Now
They
what?
have
That's that
they have to
second part.
Yeah,
That's
that's where they need to there are options, right? So they can remain with tuition in some cases. They can, or they're required to unenroll in our district and enroll in the district they belong in, where they truly live.
And they have a right to a residency hearing. And that's
Mhm.
very legalistic too. But
Mhm.
Okay.
so
Yeah.
And we've
And
done those before, Mike.
yes.
Mhm.
those are my substantive questions. The other question, oh, Susan, maybe you can do this, and I won't have to go to see Erica tomorrow. You see that number 5 where it says resides in the district?
Yep.
Okay, that should be a smaller.
Oh.
That's
Oh, the
it.
D, the
Yeah.
district.
No,
No, the
the
reside
resides.
should
The
be small,
reside.
The
Mike,
reside should be, yeah, that's
because
it.
in 1, 2, 3, and 4, the resides are, or the R is a lowercase, but
Oh,
in
I'm
5
missing
the
where.
R is
Yeah.
is uppercase.
Oh, is it
Save me.
the first listing?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
just
Yep.
the R.
You
Yeah,
see?
it just save me a trip to the central office.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll let her know.
Yeah, we'll make
Thank
sure
you.
she knows.
Thank you. That's it.
She
Everything else
sometimes
looks
will
good.
watch the meeting the next day too to make sure she catches
Oh,
everything.
okay.
Yeah.
Then yeah. And I don't think there were any other comments from the board. That was the part that got it sent back.
Mm.
So, so I would accept a motion to recommend P5118 non-resident attendance for a first reading to the board.
Moved.
There a second?
I'll second.
All right. Uh, moved by Andrea, seconded by Sean. All in favor, say aye.
I
I'll say
All
aye
right.
too.
Sorry, I
Sean,
was getting off
okay,
mute.
good. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so that passes unanimously. So no abstaining for that. Um, and so it's our second first reading. So we'll give it a go and maybe bring cookies ahead of time. So yeah,
Sounds good. Make sure they know it's the legal. It's the
Yeah.
law.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we're going to
yes,
put that
exactly.
language up at top so that
Yeah.
they understand that. Yep, sounds good. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Thank you,
Lauren.
Lauren.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know it feels like we just went around a Ferris wheel or a merry-go-round on that one, but I think that having that discussion and going back and forth with it is valuable in and of itself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Well, I
Andrea's
think, Mike,
about
because at
so
first
what?
we didn't know it
Yeah.
was state statute, but now we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Our next, I'm gonna actually, I think I can just switch. Are you okay with just keeping this up? Because our next one is discussion on P3542.43 food services charging food. And I'm gonna switch here to find it. Here it is.
I'll
I
jump
just
in
want
real quick,
I just
Mike.
want to make sure, can you see this right now? Like the
Yes.
shared screen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing and then it'll come back later. We hope. So-
So I'll jump in here before Ernie does. Um, it was I know that there's been some changes in kind of federal reporting and our percentages that have forced us to start charging at the high school and other schools for lunches. And in talking with kind of Ernie and some members of his team, this cost is getting very high. Last I saw was over $50,000, and that's a burden that Ernie and his team have to kind of take on currently. And I want to make sure I referred this to the policy committee because I want to make sure that we have a plan uh, in place to support him, and so that his team doesn't need to take on this financial burden. This is something that I personally, in my personal opinion, don't feel that students should have to pay for lunch. I know that there's bills and things that have to be covered, but I think we need to find a way to better support our students and families. And I know there's been talk of like messaging families and trying to collect these debts, and that's a lot of work on Ernie and his team with kind of a minimum return from what we're seeing.
Mm.
I know Ernie will talk about that, but I think we as a board and a district need to figure out a better way to work together to make sure that one, all students have quality meals and all students are fed, but two, that families who can take on this burden pay, but students who don't have the ability to pay this don't have to pay. I think we need some sort of a clear guidelines and expectations, and Ernie, I know you'll go into kind of your plan and some of that soon, but I just wanted to get that out there that Ernie's a good man doing great work. My kids love the food that you provide most days. They're kind of picky eaters. But my young one eats whatever. But I really appreciate what you and your team do and want to see what we can do as a board and as a district to support you.
Thanks, Sean. And I'll just add, we often talk about school lunches. There's of course the school breakfasts as well, and and this is a good time to advocate to up at the state because there is a proposal to fund
Mhm.
school breakfasts
Right.
for everybody, which would be wonderful. Um, and then the other part is as we're looking into modifying the policy, I don't see that going to affect for this current school year. Um, so we acknowledge there's an issue this year, but the changes would help for next year. But I'll turn it over to you, Ernie. You're, of course, the expert.
Yeah, thank you. So this meal meal debt that just keeps continuing to rise. As of today, it was 55,200. Um, it's just rising. And please keep in mind, this is only three schools. It's two elementary schools and a high school. Thank God we don't have to worry about seven schools. So it's three, and the amount is already that high. Um, Folks have the opportunity at any time during the school year to put a meal application in. And the ones that aren't paying their bills are the ones that are what's called, they're classified as full pay. They're the ones that submitted their income application and everything and listed, as what their yearly, weekly, or monthly income is. So that's why they got disqualified, because they earned too much money. In all rights, it's saying that you should be able to pay your bill. But unfortunately, these folks haven't paid their bill. And I don't think it's fair that our superintendent has that burden, as well as this board at the end of the school year, to have to find that money to pay for this. We've been talking with our legislators constantly. Remember, it's not a unique Groton situation. This is across the state and across the country. People just aren't paying their bills after COVID, when everything was free there for the first couple of years coming out of COVID. People got used to not paying their kids' lunch accounts and stuff. So we've seen a huge spike right after COVID hit. And then, of course, the folks at state of Connecticut come up with a way to pay for school lunches and breakfast for a period of time. Then they were running low on money, so they dropped lunch but continued paying breakfast. It's been a rough couple years for parents trying to wrap their head around what is free and what isn't anymore. And as Mike mentioned, certainly we've been trying to do back channels, with our legislators to try to at least get free breakfast, but put it in place so that it's sustainable going forward. It's not just a 1 year hit and then we revert back. So we're trying that avenue, as well as trying to work with the federal government, the USDA, and explain that we provide textbooks and transportation and computers and everything. That breakfast and lunch should be part of the education experience, but we're not getting much traction there. But we're still trying with the lunch breakfast. There's a lot of support for it right now. Folks in Connecticut are looking at the possibility of lunch. But going back to this policy, there's a lot of language here, but there's no, okay, you haven't paid your bill, what can we do? And as superintendent and Bev know that there's certain things we cannot do per the law, and that's shame children or anything like that, which we never want to. But it's the parents, that we really can't do too much contacting with them to try to tell them. Some of the avenues that we currently do are through Parent Square, which it's fairly new for us, but we've gotten good results with that. People are responding, how much do I owe, and all that good stuff. We used to send weekly mailings out to people, and you can imagine the cost of that, postage, the envelope, and all of that. And if they have a current email on account, our school cafe system automatically alerts parents when they fall below a certain level. We put the level at as soon as you go 5 cents to the negative, an alert goes out to them. Parents can, from their end, elect, let me know when my account, my child's account gets to $5 or $10 or whatever it is. So they can also elect their notifications. Um, but all of these attempts, and this is a weekly attempt. We do Parent Square, we do email, we do text if they have, and a lot of these things bounce back because they're not accurate. They don't update when they change a phone carrier or if they move or if they change their email. But these go out all the time, and we keep letting families know we'll work with you. If you owe $300, you don't have to give me 300 right now. Can you work out 25 a week until it's down? Because we're still feeding their children the breakfast and the lunch. That's never a question. It's just how do we get folks to come on board and pay their bills. I mean, they certainly have the option of sending their child in with their own meal. They can do that. Nobody's telling the child or forcing the child that they have to have that breakfast or have to have that lunch. And I just feel bad because I don't feel it's my superintendent's or this board's problem at the end of the year because I can't tell you in September, hey, put aside 50,000. I don't know what June is going to bring. And as you can see, we're already roughly 55,000, and that number could go up as high as 80 by the time June comes around. So that's where we're at with this, and I appreciate Sean delving into this a lot, and Miss Ackerman, making some changes here, and but as a team, I don't know what else we can do. I'm doing the most that we're allowed to by law at this point.
Thank you. I made the suggestion before. One thing that's really helped me is now the ability to sort of have it automatically recharge the account, so that when you come up with that number of 55,000, I think, oh man, what am I up for? What was my debt? Because I forgot to pay it this month or something. But I but I'm wondering if like it wouldn't even be a regulation level. It definitely wouldn't be it might be regulation level, it wouldn't be a policy level, but can we kind of make that the default when they're signing up for the electronic? Like, okay, enter your card information at the beginning of school year, and this is your automatic recharge. Is that it's an option, but you have to go and find it. I was wondering if we could switch it so that they kind of not forced to do it, but led down that path first, and then say, no, I don't want to do that. Because and there's sometimes I can understand why many people wouldn't want to do that, but many people just do it, and then it's like so many subscriptions to like a you know media services or something that it's getting taken out. I know it's there, but that's the cost of doing business. And I think this problem's going to get worse during the school year and potentially next year as well because of the people are feeling more of a pinch because of energy prices, as our school system will too.
I know. That's a good thought, Mike. The problem is it's not it's a third party, right? That handles all the credit card transactions and stuff.
Yeah.
So that end, meaning the parent would have to do that one-time payment authorization or whatever. So, and like you probably set it up so that you could have that automatic reload. Is that something maybe that we try to publicize a little bit more when the parent signs up for a school cafe? I mean, that's a possibility to try to maybe highlight that as an
Yeah.
option.
For me, it was a relief to have that option. It kind of
Right.
took one less thing I had to think about. But that's my situation, and people are in different situations. Um, all right. So at this point, if anyone has any other entry comments, we can continue with this, or I could just start sharing the a policy, both because we should go through it both based on like what the policy is and what the changes are that might help.
And
So
Did you
keep
Andrew,
in
get,
mind,
oh
go ahead, Ernie.
and just keep in mind, my costs are rising and staying steady. Nothing's coming down.
yeah,
Mhm.
Imagine if I had that 55K of operating capital, I still have to pay, my staff. I still have to pay the food, the paper, um, and when equipment breaks and stuff. I'm still responsible for taking care of all those pieces while I'm out 55,000. I wish I had that operating capital. And
yeah,
we still live in the age where some parents do still send in money or a check in a little envelope. And we probably get, this is no exaggeration, 25 to 30 checks a year that bounce. So I'm being charged by our bank for the bounce check
yeah.
as well as the parent, but I'm still out the money because they don't seem to send in a good check to cover the bad one. So it's very frustrating when it comes to that.
Ernie, when a parent sends in a bounce check, do you not accept checks from that family any longer?
Correct.
Okay.
But by the time the bank notifies me, it's been eight,
Yeah.
10 days before they
Yeah,
even
yeah.
tell me that the
Mm,
check's bounced.
yeah. But I mean, so the next month that they send a check, you go, no, we're not accepting your check. Or you send them a notice, we're not accepting checks from you any longer.
Yes, or I take a bank check.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
there a way, like Mike was talking about, like auto pay? And some companies will give you a discount if you do auto pay. Is that something that would be feasible? They say we'll take off $1 if you do auto pay.
I mean, we don't control that piece, Bev. We
Mm-hmm.
have no control over the third party.
Okay.
Andrea, I think you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you got the policy that I sent to Erica, the corrected one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think
I
that's what's in the
I think that's
packet.
what's in our
Oh,
packet.
okay.
Yeah.
In
So
the
I'll put
corrected
that
one?
up. I
Mhm.
believe so, but you'll know.
Okay.
Um,
And I wanted to say that as far as I can remember, there were no substantive changes. It was just like getting rid of the second person, stuff like that.
Yes.
okay, I'm just gonna. So I've got this up here. Gonna make it a little bigger.
I
Um,
just
is
sent it
that
to her this
is
week.
that is that readable? I think this version did have changes in it. I just want to make sure. Well, says, oh, maybe not. This is the unedited one. S- So
Well, you
we'll,
need
we'll
to, yeah, you need
yeah.
to look at the edited one.
Yeah,
Correct.
I'm gonna keep it on this one
Yeah.
for us because this is the one in the packet. But as usual, we are always graciously accept your changes to make it read better and uh, more grammatically consistent. Um, so I think that's large enough to see. I'm just gonna point out that we've got this first page, and then that's one big section, and then it goes on to the second page, and then after that, the third page is just more um, the the legal basis for it. And so this is a situation, as Ernie's alluding to, that there's a lot of regulations and at different levels, federal, state levels that come in here. So we'll probably spend uh, most of our time on the first two pages, I would think. Um, so is that readable for you all? It looks pretty good for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
I crossed out
Um,
the first sentence, Mike, because I didn't think it had anything to do with policy.
I think that at least we'll need that phrase nutritious and healthy foods in there somewhere because it keys into that the agreements we have to attest to or approve every year. We just did that, I
Oh, I
think,
see.
last month. That
I see.
the healthy foods agreement. So that yeah, I see what you're saying. It's just one, it's a declarative statement, but we'll probably
Yeah.
need that as long as you can find a place to have the nutritious and healthy foods
Oh, yeah,
somewhere
I
in
could do
there.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Uh, and then that's good lead in, right? So the first one's saying um, it is an essential program, right? We agree with that, and it's not just about providing meals; it's about nutritional meals. The second paragraph is talking about the school lunch and school breakfast programs, um, and how they're administered. I don't think. I mean, it's just building what we're getting to. Um, the third paragraph. Actually, I'll stop scrolling and just because it's easier without scrolling. The third paragraph is talking about how to, I think it's the part about the charging meal, and then the next part. So basically, that part's saying that a student can go in and get a meal and then run a balance. It's charged. I think they're different um, policies for staff. Um, but this is with the students. And now this next one, we prohibit publicly identifying or shaming a child for any unpaid meal charges. This is what Ernie was mentioning before. I was wondering if you wanted to add anything to that or anyone else at that point. I mean, not
Mhm.
add text, but to add context. We're, we're good there. The next part is who's actually responsible for paying. Of course, the children being minors are not. It'd be the parents or guardians are responsible for paying the meal. Um, and it does say charging is intended to be for emergency purposes only. Um, I that's something it uh, feels like to me that we don't emphasize that. I know it's said at different times. It is in our policy and talked about things that go home for the parents, but um, I'm used to charging things in other walks of life. It doesn't have that emergency feel to me. The repayment is expected is there for sure. Um, and then this is where uh, this next statement to me, I think we've looked through this as a policy sort of recently. It almost could go in regulations, but I think in this case, it's important to have one policy that so many parents are going to be looking at that you point to it. Just here's this one spot that describes the process. And so for me, this felt a little more regulation-y because it's how this is getting done with the Power School app.
Mhm.
Uh, and I was wondering if you could talk more about if there's any detail, if that's the right level of detail in this policy, Ernie, or if there's any additions you'd want there.
I mean, it clearly says, school cafe, parent portal. They set their own thing up. There is no fee. There is the fee for when they make the transaction. And this again is where they could put in, whatever limit that they want to be notified at, or when their account gets to a certain low level. Um, and we do contact parents. Negative balance letters are mailed weekly, um, by email and by text. So that part, we did send as a suggestion to put in that area there. Also, outstanding balances can also be paid online through School Cafe, excuse me, with a debit or a credit card. Um, Families are encouraged to submit a meal application multiple times during the school year should their income change, should a parent be laid off, or right now we're seeing some Coast Guard families that have gone without paychecks and stuff like that. This is an excellent time for them to put in a new meal application, which several have, and that'll carry them through the end of the year, even if the government reopens next week or whatever fully. Once their meal application is in, it would take care of them for the remainder of this school year. A lot of parents think that they can only put an application in at the beginning of the school year. We try to encourage at all of our open houses and stuff, should your income situation change, regardless, feel free to put an application in. Simply do it online from the comfort of your home, because it could make a difference. It could go from full pay to reduce, or reduce to full to full free. So those we thought were very important. Other than that, I think those were some of the suggestions that we put in, sent back to Erica and Miss Ackerman for that, and I think they did.
And then the next part is students and adults are not permitted to charge a single item or an a la carte item. That makes sense to me only because we've talked about it. Well, because we talked about it before, and so that's separate from um, getting a meal like a breakfast or a lunch. This would be something from, I guess, the kiosks or machines.
What it is, Mike, is it's literally like going into your neighborhood store to buy some juice or snacks or whatever. So yep, you're entitled to the USDA breakfast, the USDA lunch, but okay, now that you've had that, if you want to go get yourself a snack at the high school and the middle school, is the only two locations that we do that, you can
Thank
go in
goodness.
as you have money in there, to get yourself an ice cream or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Even our schools that are CEP, you have to pay for those snacks.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for not making that a possibility to elementary school. That would prolong the going to school arguments every day. And they would win in my house probably. They'd wear me down eventually. Uh, uh,
But
okay, and
teachers
then
and
oh,
teachers never charge. They're never allowed. Our staff is, they come through the lines. They're entitled to purchase same thing as the kids, but they have to have money on their account. Most teachers already have an account set up, or they can just come in simply with cash. But they can't say, "Hey, I'll catch you tomorrow." We don't allow that with the adults.
right. And then the next part is the Groton Board of Education realizes that funds from the nonprofit school fund service account, according to federal regulations, cannot be used to cover the cost of charge meals that have not been paid. And that's very relevant here because, well, you can talk about the funding streams. You're of course, the experts.
I mean, that is true, and that's the law. So at the end of the year, I give you folks, a list of the three schools, with a backup of who owes what, and then that's how the total comes to be. And then once July rolls around, we do the rollover and all the negative balances get wiped. Essentially, you guys, well, the board cuts us a check for whatever's owed, and like I say, when the rollover happens, that we correspond with Power School, all the accounts get wiped except for positive accounts. So stay positive to carry over into the next year.
Right. And so there's no reshuffling within like the federally funded money to pay for this. There's no way to build in a certain buffer. This is very regulated and for good
Correct.
reason because I mean a small buffer in one school system adds up quite quickly across the nation.
Yep.
Uh,
Ernie,
You
and
do
and
you
want to,
and
keep
oh, go on.
yeah,
Ernie, do you keep track of families that do this from year to year?
Yes.
You do, okay. Are there a lot of families that do it from year to year, or like five, or
Yes.
okay, a lot?
A
Okay.
lot. Dozens.
uh,
I'm sorry to say, and I know some of them, it irritates me even more because I can't say a word.
I do
oh, the,
say though, can I just add this, Mike, that
yeah,
Ernie has done some fundraising. I just bought a sweatshirt that has food services. He does the farm to school initiative, which I love to take part in, I think 4 times a year, as often as he offers it. And, he's done all kinds of other fundraisers. I think there have been in the past families that have given donations. Also, people have come
yes.
up and sent us checks because they know that we're struggling with this. So we do appreciate the community support. when it comes to that, and Ernie's support.
Did we
Yeah.
ever hear back from Senator Saunders about
Summers, yeah.
Summers about doing an event like she had discussed?
Um, she had, and I think she was working on something even more specialized. I haven't heard back from her, but she was working really, I think, for the initiative to have free lunch and breakfast for all kids. She's working on that with Kathy Austin and
Mhm.
Mhm.
several of the senators. But I think she had shared that she's also trying to figure out another way that she can help us for this year, but
Yeah.
I haven't heard back.
Yeah, and I
Ernie,
think
are your suggestions that you just made, are they in the policy that we have here? Because I don't see them, so I'm maybe I overlooked them.
I think they're in the latest round of changes that I don't think you folks have.
Erica
Oh,
said
no,
she just received them, so she's working on getting that out
Yeah.
to
oh,
us.
okay, okay.
yeah, that's fine. And so and we'll kind of tick back on that too. I just want to get through at least this page and then the next one, just the current policy as a basis. So this next one, to sustain the district's food service program, the district cannot permit the excessive charging of student meals. That's something we were talking about just now. And it's talking about the unpaid balance or exceeding the cost of 30 meals. Then the family be referred to the homeless liaison and the director of pupil personnel. And then this next line, families may also contact Groton Human Services. That's a town department that's very helpful and often works in coordination with the school
Mm-hmm.
system to support families in need. And then that contact information I think is still current, though I know the phone number is. I'm not as sure about the email. I just realized oh yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Um, and then the second page is it's just this top part. Everything else is legal reference. And I think uh this the goal of the department is to effectively and respectfully address family responsibility for unpaid meals. I'll note this and Sean probably will talk about this. This is maybe a place to key into to add some language. And then the next part is again, reach out to food services if you anticipate a problem or something else. Dissemination of the policy. Um, it's it's given out in writing to school households. It's in the handbooks, and those are the first two I know about specifically. We know those are done. Ernie, would you want changes in that part? Like, are there additional avenues that you'd want in the policy for kind of disseminating this?
I
Uh,
mean, I think this is fine, that this part is fine. Like I say, we thought it all looked good. And we were even thinking of doing a nice colorful with the dissemination policy for this upcoming school year to as an insert in the meal application. It
mm,
can't be printed as part of the meal application because we're not allowed to touch that. But I can put an insert in there along with some more SNAP information as well, because a lot of our families who qualify for free don't realize that they probably qualify for SNAP at the same time. So
Except our military families, they do not.
yes,
So Charles
I know.
Barnes
yeah,
is not
yeah.
able to
Right.
participate.
Yeah, unfortunately. Um, but that's what we were thinking of,
Mhm.
looking forward of trying to get the message out even a little bit clearer and more bolder, like when we come back to school for next year.
And that would be above and beyond this current policy, adding inserts. Is that something you'd
Yes.
want to add in to like that's sort of it sounds like a great idea. Is it something you'd want in the policy? Like we do mention SNAP benefits earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
We do. Yep. Hmm.
So it could be, we could think of a sense. Um, we want to make sure, that the policy is helpful, but
Yeah.
also not overly prescriptive to where if an insert didn't go out, then
Right.
we're not in line with policy.
I
Um,
know.
um,
I, I mean,
so
I just don't like wordy things. You know what I mean? I just think if what we do extra is extra, but I don't know. Sometimes less is more.
yeah.
You know.
Um, okay, so I was kind of thinking that this second part, the dissemination of policy, is probably more or less fine. Does anyone, and then we'll go back and talk about the first part. But I was wondering if anyone thought there would be major additions or changes to that dissemination of policy. And I should say, I don't think we're going to send this up for a first read at the coming board meeting. We'll have another roll through of this in the policy committee level.
If we get it, if Erica is able to send it back to you all and you take a look at those changes, and I mean, it's a quick turnaround because our meeting is next, Monday. So
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, because it won't. We can get this done and through, I think, before the school year. Um, as long as we keep our eye on this, right? Um, so does anyone have any uh, changes or additions in a major way to the second part, dissemination of policy?
I
All
don't
right.
remember any. And I don't have my revised version in front of me, but as I recall, there were very few. Like I said, I took out that first sentence because I thought it was a nice statement, but it didn't look like policy to me. But as you said, that it has to contain somewhere the nutritious and healthy words. Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, and there
All
were
right.
just things like like grammatical things. That was it.
well, I did text Erica and she said she did get those changes and she is working on that, getting that turned around and getting it out to us.
Oh,
So
great.
Great.
I'll
Okay.
have her send it as soon as possible so everybody can take a look.
Yeah, that's appreciated. Sean, I'll turn it over to you if you'd like, because I think you do have a sense of additions you'd like to make, even if it's not specific text, just the sort of the style of where you like to take this.
Yeah, I just want to figure out what is our best path forward. I don't necessarily have that figured out yet. Like what's best for everybody involved, right? And what can we do to make sure that we're not cutting this big check every single year, right? Is it putting money in the budget? Is it kind of fixing the problem at hand best we can? So I just think we need to figure that out. I don't have anything today, any language today specifically, but I think that this is something that we need to kind of discuss and come up with some sort of a solution for.
I think a writing campaign to our legislators. I think Ernie and I going up to Hartford
Mhm.
and speaking our mind about how important and essential feeding kids is. And if they are really looking to make a difference in our state and can afford this, this is where I think it'll make a difference. But like you said, it can't be given one year and then taken away the next.
No,
Right.
I
no,
mean,
this needs to
families
be.
have had that happen, and I think that's what's gotten us into this situation.
Yep.
I
Mhm.
100% agree. Yeah. People get used to things. Oh, I didn't have to pay last year. Why do I have to pay now?
Yeah.
And if a
Um,
writing campaign would help, I'll make sure I get the information out. Educators could write letters. I could get the unions to, say, I think the more that we get in touch with our, representatives and our senators, and say, yeah, this is really important to Groton. I mean, ours do know what we're faced with. So we're fortunate that way.
And I understand that families didn't have to pay in the past, but once you know that you have to pay, I mean, Ernie said some families haven't paid in 2 years. So if
Yeah.
we continue to send them a notice and they didn't pay in 2 years, they know they have to pay. And if they can afford to pay, they should pay. I mean, I can understand, okay, I didn't have to pay a year ago, but now things are changing. I have to pay.
Yeah.
So,
5 years, 4 years. That's ridiculous.
yeah,
Yep.
that's definitely not right, and especially if you can afford to pay.
Right.
Yep.
It's like we say, the rich don't pay their fair taxes. I mean, the same thing here. The people that can afford to pay for the lunches aren't paying.
Right.
yeah, I think, but let's leave room for the, federal or legal definition of afford to pay
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what someone personally sees.
But
Because
I'm thinking it's 50,000, 55,000 are not all the people that can't afford to pay, because then we're not doing a good job of trying to get them to fill out the forms for free and reduced lunch. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know.
maybe. And that may be so. And there was a chilling factor, I think, with the recent upheaval or questions about SNAP and earlier in the
Mm.
school year, last school year. Um, but it is a systemic problem. So I think there is room for us to consider policy changes, like to put some teeth in it, additional teeth in it. And I'm just going to throw an idea out. That right now the first paragraph that shows on the screen for me at least says parents and guardians. It's very simple. It's a paragraph, but straightforward. Parents and guardians are responsible for providing meals or meal money for their students. Charging is limited for emergency purposes only. Repayment is expected. Um, is that is there a way, like if you charge to a certain amount, we're like, well, this is not emergency purposes anymore. Like that we can kind of shut off that. I mean, I guess we can't refuse. Is there a way we can stop that, um, trigger something else, when the charging gets to a certain amount? Maybe not, because you always have to give meals.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, right.
In the past, I think we could provide a sandwich, a cheese sandwich or whatever, but they won't. The law says that you really have to give kids the meal that's being provided, right, Ernie?
No, 100%. It used to be
So,
called an oops meal years
yeah,
ago,
yeah, but they would get something. But
Yeah.
but I guess I'm thinking
Susan,
of some intervention that's like kind of akin to sending a truancy visit out when you reach to a certain level. I'm serious, like an actual, like, and that's a lot of time, right? And that might cost in people power. I'm just trying, like, what can we do on a policy perspective to help reduce the amount of this unpaid balance?
I have a question for Susan. Susan, when you get together with the other superintendents in the area, they must have this problem. What do they do? Do you ever just talk about that?
I think they're faced with the same thing. Some of my colleagues, like Cynthia from New London and Sue Lassard from Norwich, their school districts are fully paid. So they're not dealing with this.
I see.
I'm not sure about Learn, but your East Limes, your Waterford, they're all dealing with this as well. And Ernie, you
Uh-huh.
probably hear it from your food service colleagues
sure
too.
do. Yep,
Montville.
What do
100%.
they do though? Do they have any kind of successful approach to this?
No,
Uh,
like in Miss Ackerman, they're faced with the same, regulations. You can only go so far, and I guess that's the
right.
magic question. What's the next step that anybody wants to do? Because
And you can't shame or harass.
we
No.
can't
We would
shame or
never.
harass.
You
So
wouldn't want to do that. No.
No,
no,
you wouldn't.
No.
So,
Susan, did we ask Floyd what we can do? Did we get legal advice?
I haven't asked Floyd. I mean, I would be happy to do that.
Maybe he knows the districts that have a successful plan.
Yeah, yeah. So what I want to assess, and like in time for the next policy committee meeting, is um like we're unhappy with the situation, um but is there anything policy wise that we can add? I'm happy to make other revisions to the policy, like notify, like in terms of disseminating information, things like that, and the other changes that we have a new draft on that we'll see soon. I'm happy to do that part, but like before next meeting, like get real sense. Is there anything we can do in a policy regard, to help this problem?
That's a good question, Mike. You got to answer.
Yeah.
That is my question.
That's
I
for
can't ask
Floyd.
and answer the question. So,
It almost seems like we can't send them to the collection agency. There's no way. I don't know. It almost seems like, I don't know, that they're stuck with this $50,000 deficit. I don't know. You can't shame him into paying. I don't know what you could do based on a policy.
Says you can't shame the child, but it doesn't say you can't shame the parents.
Can't put their names in the newspaper and say, debt, I don't know.
And my question was sort of related to Andrea's question. What are the other school districts do, right? Like
Mm.
if did someone other school district in Connecticut with sort of a similar needs of ours figure out something to do that we haven't? But and you're a good contact, Ernie, with the other food directors. So
I can ask when I go to learn. We have an
Mhm.
executive committee meeting on Friday, but it's only four school districts that are on that committee. I can ask those four school districts, what do they do? And then when we have a Learn Board of Directors meeting in May, I can ask several more districts, what do they do? And I'll get back to you on that.
Thanks. And I do think, I mean, there's a value in just keeping this on the forefront.
Mm.
uh,
Yeah.
because it's I mean in large regard we're saying at some level we think uh, many of these debts could possibly be paid by the people that are running them up, but it does kind of fit within the matrix of food insecurity and the challenges of providing good nutrition for children. Ernie, I got to think you're the largest food services program in Groton, like public or private.
Close. EB overtook me, gosh darn it.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Hey, Mike, in paragraph 2, can you scroll up to
Um,
paragraph 2?
yeah, I think so.
Should it be, see where it says National School Breakfast? Should it be an N in front of that S? Because when you
Oh,
have
I like
school,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. Unless they didn't for some reason. I bet it is NSBP
yeah.
in parentheses.
I'm taking lessons from Dr. A.
I like it.
I like the style.
Consistency.
Yeah, I missed that.
I got your back, don't worry.
Thank you.
So the next
Oh,
draft we'll have with all of Ernie's suggestions in the next draft, I take it, right?
I believe so. That's what I forwarded to Erica. So I think
Okay.
that's part of the things that you guys were going to be reviewing.
Um,
all right.
Well, thank you, Ernie.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you all very much for the time and consideration. In any way that I can help or my folks can help, please let us know because it's a big problem.
Thank you for
Yes,
joining us,
thank you.
Ernie. Have a great day.
Thanks, Sean. Take care.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye, Ernie.
All right. Our next one is discussion on P0521 non-discrimination. And I'm gonna just I'm still sharing screen, so just flip straight over to that and make it larger. I think that's a good size actually. Um, this one's actually a shorter policy, so it's a two-page document. Again, I just quickly scroll through it. This is one of our zero level review, and the idea with this was to add, and we'll talk about it, updated legal references. But um, I'm guessing Susan, you'll probably lead this one through. So this is part of our systematic review of all the board policies, starting with the shortest ones, which are the 0 thousands.
So yeah, the green policies, have been updated. So we have like the latest, and I think this one was written originally in 2006.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get through some of those that are over a decade old, right? And it didn't change, though, the nature of the policy. I mean, the only thing I see in green is a couple minor corrections of, our consistency with calling the Board of Ed, the board, and with a capital B. And instead of because she or he, we're saying they have opposed discrimination act. So not much of the language has changed. I'm just looking, there was a CABE sample in there that I have attached. Did you all get the sample?
We didn't within the packet, but I think we discussed it maybe last time, or it's going to be checked against it. Um, I just know these are the changes you recommended or we talked about the
Yeah,
textual changes, and then you recommended that we update the legal reference, and it is a strong legal basis for
right.
non-discrimination that our school system fully supports, of course. And so
And
I'm just
Susan,
scrolling through. Yeah.
Susan, if you go into the central office tomorrow, Sean, if you could, I'm sorry, Mike, if you could scroll up a bit.
Yeah, I'm just completing my downward scroll because it is a lot of legal references.
Oh,
Anything
okay.
in green was added
Yep.
new. Uh, uh, that's
The
some
thing,
work involved, by the way, of finding those and updating that. So
the
thank
only
you for
thing I
that.
see in the CABE policy, which could go in as a regulation or an addendum, is a form to report. It's called a report form for compliant complaints on discrimination. And
Do we
this is
have one?
typical of things that we do for any of the titles and complaint. This is for Title VI. And it's relevant because we did have a parent who had some Title VI concerns and we were responsive to her, but, and got her the FOI information that she was requesting. So we felt like we really needed to update this particular policy.
So that where you're talking about, there's a form that could be as a regulation that
Yeah.
and
Or an addendum, that you could use so you could point someone who had this particular kind of complaint. Kind of like what we do with the bullying policy now, the
right.
culture climate policy, that, if there is a complaint or a concern from a family, then they can, meet with the principal, talk about their concern, but also get the information in writing. And that's what we, usually ask them to do so we can do a thorough investigation.
Right. And so we don't have one currently. Like that would be this is P0521. That would be an R0521.
Mhm.
As a policy committee and as a board, we would look at those regulations kind of like as a packet, but our purview is mostly the policy. So me personally, and I'll ask the other members, I'd be fine with if you do feel that form is some useful,
Yeah,
that could be when it goes up to the board for first reading, you could just bundle that in as an R0521, or point one or whatever they would do. So
well, it asked them to describe very clearly their concerns and including any verbal statements, threats, derogatory remarks, demands, and any action or activities that have taken place, and attach any additional pages to this so that you could have a complete complaint.
that sounds like it'd be quite useful.
Yeah, it would be.
And
And it would be
Andrea, I'm sorry.
consistent for anybody who comes, so that you're not changing what you're asking for.
Right. Andrea, I remember you having me scroll up. I just can't recall if
Right
we
here. You
got
can
to your
stay right
comment.
there. You can stay right there. You see, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one down that starts federal civil rights law.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, and then Susan, again, you could just save me a trip to the central office. And
Okay.
it should be if individuals, because they, and take out and add an S to individual, and that'll save me a trip. But
So
I think that Erica did get this.
I think she did too. So
Yeah,
tell me, under the federal civil rights law
yeah,
prohibits discrimination against an individual.
yeah, take out the and. against
Okay.
individuals.
Okay.
Yeah, because they.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. But I think I did send this one and I think I sent the food policy and this one to Erica.
Okay.
I think the only one, the other one, maybe it was the yeah, I sent these two. I think it was the non-resident one that I did. I looked at it and everything looked good in terms of what was corrected. So I didn't send anything to her. So, but I
I'll
think
make sure I go through this with her.
okay. I think she knows what to do. Because I emailed her.
All right. Um, if there are no other comments or even after this, I'd definitely accept a motion to approve P0521 non-discrimination, or not approve it, to recommend P0521 non-discrimination for a first reading to the Board of Education.
John, you want to do that one?
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
All right. We can have further discussion. If not, I can call the vote. All in favor, say
Aye.
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 Aye. That passes 3-0-0. And thank you for all of your work on that. The next item is our progression on our systematic review, one of our goals actually for our policy committee. And so it's item 6, and we're reviewing the 1000 series. And uh, though it is a laudable goal to systematically go through the entire policy book, I believe Susan warned us kindly that that's something that she's been trying to do for many, many years.
12.
Um,
12, but who's
yeah,
counting?
uh, and so while it looked uh maybe plausible in the 0 hundreds or 0 thousands, when you start getting to this next one, that's a little bigger, and the next ones after that are even larger. So we're in the thousands. There's quite a few more policies here, and I took a look at it recently, and I would say um, there are several policies that were last revised in like 1996 or 1997. I say we target those. And even that is a lot. And then basically we'll kind of have a 90s theme for a while. I think I maybe mentioned this last time too. We'll take our 90s theme and go through the policies that are long in the tooth in terms of when they were last revised. Is that an okay approach for you all, or would you like to kind of look through each policy? We can do either. It just changes sort of the pacing.
Well, I think the one Beverly shared with me was the 0100 that we're going to look at during the retreat. Is that right, Beth?
Yep.
Yep,
And
that's
that'll
one
help
number.
guide
Yeah.
us. Yep.
Yep.
And I've been talking about the belief statements because I remember when I first got here, being pretty impressed with the belief statements. And I thought maybe it's time that we look at those belief statements and say, is that something we want to think about and update? And it might be good to also have administrators take a look too.
Yeah.
And, because it would be, I can remember doing this in Monroe as a principal, that we worked with the board on mission, vision, and, some of the beliefs. And it was really a good meeting together, coming up with what we really believe together. So, but I think
Well,
it's
Yeah.
good to do it at the retreat first, and then we can maybe share with the principals and get their take.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
was gonna say that it's too late
Yeah.
to include
Yeah.
them. I mean, we talked about it, so you knew we were gonna do this at the retreat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
gonna continue on with the path
Right.
that's
Right.
on the agenda.
actually, this is a little preview of something I'll say tomorrow, but I do think in terms of that 0-100, that it is important that like the school district owns it. And
Mhm.
so getting like
Buy-in.
I see our retreat as getting the process starting, and then we can
Right,
decide where to go
Yeah.
from there.
right.
Um, and so in terms of the 1000 levels, uh, are do you want to go sequentially through each one eventually, or do you want to hit the ones that haven't been revised since the 90s first? That's my preference. Um, or some other, or just target like specific ones. I think that'd be the least efficient way to do it. So our options are go through everything, hit the 90s, or just kind of pick and choose as we go through.
What do you think, Sean?
I, I think that we just go through.
I know when the
One by one.
9,000s were
Yeah.
done
Yeah,
by the
we can.
board prior, they kind of went through. Did they just go through all the 9,000s, Beverly? One at a time, do you know?
What
When
the
the board,
prior
They made a
board?
lot of new
when the
ones at the
board,
time.
yeah, the board
Yeah.
right before this board came on board.
Yeah,
Um,
they went through the 9,000s.
yeah, one at a
Yeah,
time.
yep. And they changed the ones they thought needed to be changed,
Mhm.
and like Mike said, just put revise or whatever. What did you say, Mike? If you're not changing it, what would you put on it?
Reviewed.
Reviewed.
Revise, reviewed.
Reviewed
Yeah,
by, yeah.
Yeah,
reviewed. Yeah.
yeah.
But I think what we're finding is we mostly we I think we did that for one so far, but we usually end up changing some wording or like the legal references, because you're looking at it again.
The good
Um,
thing about the thousands, a lot of them look pretty old, like 1996, 96,
yes.
96, 96, 2097,
Yeah.
97,
Some of
99,
them we may not even
99.
need anymore.
We
Yeah.
Yeah.
start with the oldest ones and then move forward, move through in terms of the dates. Let's start with the dates.
Now we're at an impasse. Should we- but I guess actually, so that'd be when we hear from Sean, and we can do this. We should go through all the thousands,
Yeah.
right?
I think we'll
And
get
then
through.
and then which ones we start with is we could do that way. Like um but it's we don't get too far into this policy before we hit an old one. This policy section because I think and this would be pretty old too. I think the 1110.1 parent involvement. I think that's like 2020 or 2003 or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
2006. And then
2003, Mike.
oh, good. And then the next one, I didn't, you don't want to say something's older than they are. So we put some buffer room in there. And then the next one is P1112, and that's news media relations. I think that is one of these 1996ers that we
Mm-hmm.
can.
That we would
Uh,
definitely need to look at, right?
yeah, yeah. So actually, maybe, and I think the next one's pretty old too. To Bev's point. Um, I'm wondering what do you think we can kind of as a chunk go through in the next meeting, like for a section like this, knowing that we'll have other things too, like 3 or 4 policies. We'll have had to done our homework and like legal references and things like that. Uh,
Would it be
because we
helpful to see updated CADE policies to go with it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And so I'm proposing maybe that we go, there's like 4 policies that get us through the 1100. So there's 1110, 1.1, 1112, 1112.3, and then 1140. And that's like a chunk there that might be doable. And that's parent involvement, news media relations, access to information, and distribution of materials to and by students. So
That sounds like a good way to handle it.
Yeah.
And they do seem like they're at least a decade old.
yes, a lot of them, yeah. So
And the
So
FOI one, Mike, shouldn't be that bad because that's probably state regulation.
Yeah, and actually the policy itself is pretty short. It's a lot of it's in the regulations, which we wouldn't touch. So if we do, so we could do that chunk, the 1100s, like those four, um, with caves sample policies, and and then and that I guess I would have the updates of the regs, the legal references too.
Mhm.
Um, and then because I if we spend 3 meetings on each of them, we're gonna crawl through this. Um,
How many are there total?
we don't want to look at that.
We'll do
I mean,
chunks.
it's good to chunk major long-term activities.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So am I hearing we're going to begin at the beginning, go to the end, and then stop?
At least for right now, because they're all sort of old.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
it might for the next sections it might we could
I mean,
we'll
we could
we'll
review it and it
revisit
could
this.
be old, and we might
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
it's fine. So, maybe not a lot has changed, but maybe a lot has. So we'd have to make those
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah, and my sense is, I mean, we'll spend time talking about it because I mean, it's the policy committee. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So we'll give each its due treatment. All right, so that's for next time. We'll have our chunk of, I guess, four: parent involvement, news media relations, access to information, and distribution of materials to and by students. For those of you watching online, it's got something to look forward to there. Um,
Hey, Mike, yours says
yeah.
access to information. Mine says FOI.
The FOI, I think, is like within the regulation. I think those are the R's.
Okay, I don't have the wording access to information. I'll just put it on
I'm
my
just,
sheet.
yeah, I'm just looking at the table of contents of the policy at this
Okay,
point, book.
thank
And
you.
all right, our next one is review referral tracking list, and I think I've got that.
Oh,
Still
that's
sharing. And we are the policy committee, so that puts us right there. Um, let's see. Discuss. So the first one there's R 2024-31. It was initiated on October 15th, 2024. It's discussion P1312, public complaints process and procedures. That's from Ian Thomas. Um, this one, we haven't done this part of it yet. We did, I think, was it the anonymous complaints? We did one part of the broader um, referral. So this one I think should come up again pretty soon, or should come up soonish. Maybe next meeting. And the idea was kind of um, the general idea was to make sure the public complaint process has sort of uh, a check-in with the board if it should rise to that level, or some wording along with that. But it also sort of overlapped with not just complaints. I think when Ian Thomas was describing this referral, he was talking about like getting updates like of legal proceedings and things like that. So know that as we discuss this public complaint process, we might find that what needs to be added should go in another policy. Um, so, uh, any questions or comments on that?
Nope.
Um,
So you were
so
talking about the
yeah,
two from Ian, which were the first one about the public complaints and then the second one about lawsuits. Did
yeah.
you see that one?
Um, Yes, yeah. Oh, that's right, because it got to add new. Thanks. I didn't even get far enough down the list.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
So, thank you for saving me
Yeah.
on that, because so that last one on the list was where he refined uh, the referral. So they're sort of like tied together, um, and I think we just kind of need an appropriate way to handle that still. So that might
I
come
can
up the
have
next meeting.
Erica look through CABE and I can see if
Yeah,
Floyd has anything related to that.
right.
I'll start
And
with CABE, but then I can ask Floyd.
yeah, and for that third one, I was just thinking I mean, we do have a policy, an existing policy as it says on the attorney. And maybe that's an entry point to add something. And I think, like from my viewpoint, if we had something that said we'd get regular updates and maybe define sort of what regular is, that would be a useful addition. Um, I wouldn't personally want to get into anything that is charging a lot more legal time just to describe legal proceedings, but so there'd
Yeah.
have to be a balance there. Um, so yeah, so thank you. Though that first one and that third one should pretty much come up together. Um, Maybe next meeting or the meeting after. Um, and then the one in between is review policy P3542.43 food service charging policy. And this is from Sean, and that's what we're doing right now. It's not completed, it's in progress.
Yeah, I said that.
We had a good discussion today.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll
Well, and I'm
continue
gonna
that.
get the updates to you, and you said you wanted to put it on for next month, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So are we gonna do those three in addition to all of the 1100s, or should we space it out a little bit?
We'll figure that out. Like this is sort of our to-do list.
Okay. All right.
And then Erica and I and you all will
Okay.
determine
Great.
how much we can actually to
How
do
much?
in
Yeah.
one meeting. So
Okay. That makes
uh
sense.
yeah. Because other things come up too as
Yeah,
well.
I know.
So we're making progress on the middle one and the other two, the first and the third are coming up soon. Um yeah, and I think as I scroll through the other committees just to see where we are, I think uh yeah, communications has a shorter list. But we're doing pretty good.
Now
Pretty
that
well.
hasn't always been this way, Mike, in the 12
Yes.
years. Usually
So,
policy had a huge list, but if we're tackling this 1100s, that'll be a good thing and we'll march
yeah.
through. And the only ones I see 1300s have 10, but everybody else has 2 to 4. So it won't be too bad, I don't think.
That is good. I get the sense policy is just running ahead to keep ahead of the of all the policy that's needed to be changed and that we'd like to change.
Yeah.
All right, our next item, I've got I think I can stop sharing after this, is our future meeting topics. One that I know is due to come up back again is the policy and the regulations on charge. I forget what the actual terms, but it's charging for use of school facilities by outside
Yes.
groups. That's still in the administration's lap right now, right? Because I think you're looking is more research into the tape um in terms of the pricing table, but also um when we discussed it in the policy committee, it was also about uh, you know, nonprofit versus for-profit, and like what was and sort of a history of use, because we want to make sure, okay, yes, we could grandfather certain organizations in, but also have something that was appropriate split between the two. And I think that should definitely come up next meeting because we'd want to get that in place before.
And in Groton versus out of Groton, those that are
Yes.
community based versus those that might be outside the community.
Yes, and so that one's due up for sure
Yeah, that
next
is
meeting.
definitely one.
Yeah, and I'll open it to everyone else at this point. That's the one I knew about.
I know Erica and I had done a lot of research looking at lots of other districts and how they laid it out. So that might be interesting for you to see the background of those things, to see how it's been done. Some had 2 groups or they had 3 groups. So
Yeah, and I think so. And of course, and one thing about like timing of it with the custodial staff that has to be on in place. Um, and then another facet of it that sort of it's definitely related to it. Um, Access to fields during non-school hours. Is it free and unfettered access? I don't know if we have a statement in there. Like if someone wanted to, go on the new football field, or not the multi-use field where the football field is, or the middle school fields, can they do it? Um, I'm not sure our policy currently talks about that.
I'm not sure either, and I don't know how we would ever police it. I mean, like even with our playgrounds at our schools, they're open to the public, on weekends, and
Yeah.
people do use them, you know.
But fences could be locked or not locked. I think the
Yeah,
middle school fences might be locked. Uh,
yeah, I don't
um,
know. I Let me start with Sam just to see if
yeah,
there's any protocol.
yeah. I mean, the most important thing is to get a workable fee schedule in place,
Mhm.
ideally for next year,
Right,
before next school year starts. The timing
right,
is a little
right.
tight on that.
Yeah, I agree. That one, it was one that was hanging out there. We need
Yeah,
to go back to. Yep,
and it went to finance and facilities, and then came back to here. So,
yep.
Sean or
And they
Andrew,
grappled with the same thing.
yes, of course, and that makes sense, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because we want to have our schools open and useful for many organizations that enrich student experience and lives, and
Mhm.
but then also we need to be good stewards of our facilities and respectful of uh,
Right,
the time of our school officials and employees.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
I know it's tough. Like it's tough for me sometimes to find a place to go, like play catch with my daughter. You know what I mean? So I use some of the school fields, right? And I know
Yeah.
others do too. Just you just hope that people respect them, right? And
Well,
treat.
and Mystic River is a great place to go on the weekend with kids. I see,
Yeah,
I drive by there all the time and I'll see people out there and it's
my
good
kids
to
love that
see.
playground there. Yeah.
They sure do. So do mine. My grandkids, they do. They like the one with the big red slide and Pequannock Plains too. Let's go to the big red slide, Grammy.
That's what they call it, the red playground. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
And
makes sense.
and then I lived on Groton Long Point for a year and a half. They really like that playground too.
Andrea?
Oh, motion to adjourn? Is that what you
Um,
meant?
Second.
I just saw you. I saw you pop up. I just make
Oh,
sure. I was just wondering, are there any other future meeting topics you'd like?
oh, no. I think you've covered
I think
everything
you've
in
got a
depth.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think anything else would be backbreaking.
Yeah, and I think
We're
digging
just
back into the
there.
old policy is going to be enough work.
Yeah, we got a lot to accomplish, but
Yeah,
I think we got a plan, a
yeah.
game plan. So it's good.
I just want to mention that that was the chair's idea, just in case you revolt. But
He does
we'll
have
go
some
through it.
good ideas.
Actually, it came from workshops, right? The
No.
idea to go
Oh yeah,
through
it did.
everything.
It came from a workshop I went to. Yep, the
Yeah.
idea. And I said, "Oh, that's a good idea. I can ask Mike to do that."
And
Yeah.
don't go to
Yeah,
any
you
more
came back with a
workshops.
lot of good ideas.
No, no,
Beverly,
this was a cave workshop I went to.
Beverly, don't go to any more workshops.
Yeah. Might be good advice. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I
Well,
appreciate
anyway,
you carrying through with that, Mike. I do
Yeah.
Oh, for
appreciate
sure.
that. Thank you.
We're all here. You're in with us, so that's good camaraderie. We appreciate it. So thank you very much, everybody. And
Thank you.
I Andrea, now it is your
Now?
time.
Yeah, now.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Hey,
Say
Good night,
aye.
thank you.
Gracie.
Good,
Thank
good
you.
night. Thanks very
Good
much.
night.
Have a good
Good
one.
night.